In May 2018, two friends, Spencer James Mugford, a 20-year-old University of Connecticut student, and Sophia McKenna, a 21-year-old from Connecticut, met at the University of Connecticut's Avery Point campus. Originally from Florida, Spencer was familiar with the area and loved spending time on the water. Sophia was known for her outgoing personality, was close to her family, and had recently earned her massage license. She aspired to eventually become a nurse in honor of her late grandmother. Spencer and Sophia had met while working at a local spa, and they decided one night to take a small boat out to the New London Ledge Lighthouse, a local tourist attraction rumored to be haunted. Around 2 a.m., they set out in a small sailboat borrowed from the university campus, planning to explore the lighthouse but not intending to get into the water. Sophia even posted a video of them having fun on Spencer's Snapchat, and minutes later, Spencer shared a photo of her standing by the lighthouse.
Yo, we're out here in the fucking ocean. With us. That is the land. Like, we still have to get to there. Wait, where? Oh, we're almost there. Okay, but you know, Spence fucking sucks. Come on, get us there.
Tragically, this would be their last sighting. Spencer's family reported him missing when he failed to attend a family event. Shortly after, Sophia's mother received a call from Sophia's worried boyfriend. Sophia's mother then noticed 7 calls from an unknown number around 2 a.m., which she had missed while sleeping. She tried calling back, but there was no answer. When police got involved, they discovered that these calls had come from Spencer's phone, leading them to believe Sophia had tried to reach out for help. Authorities, armed with the information from the Snapchat posts, went to the New London Ledge Lighthouse. There, they found Spencer's shirt tied to a cleat outside the lighthouse, suggesting he might have used it to secure the boat. However, the boat itself was nowhere in sight. 2 days later, the hull of a small paddleboat washed up on a beach in Long Island. Investigators believed that when Spencer and Sophia docked at the lighthouse, the boat drifted away. Spencer, a strong swimmer, may have tried to swim after it, but the cold water and the night conditions likely made it difficult for him to stay afloat. It's possible that Sophia saw him struggling and, instead of calling for help, tried desperately to reach her mother in a panic before likely jumping in the water to help him. However, Sophia was not a strong swimmer, and the cold water, darkness, and currents would have been overwhelming. Investigators worked with limited evidence, as neither the campus nor the lighthouse had functional security cameras. Tides and currents on the night of their disappearance made it difficult to trace where they might have drifted. Nearly 2 weeks later, Spencer's body was found by boaters a few miles from the lighthouse, confirming he had drowned. The discovery supported investigators' theory of an accidental drowning. Tragically, Sophia's body was never recovered, leaving her family without closure and many questions unanswered. Out of the 4 people who went missing in the area that night, only 3 bodies were eventually found. However, Sophia's family still holds on to hope that one day, they will find her and understand what happened. Georgina Gharsallah, born on October 29, 1987, was living in Worthing, West Sussex, with her mother, Andrea, after separating from her children's father. Known to have struggled with an eating disorder and bouts of binge drinking, Georgina had faced challenges in the past, partly due to her involvement with a difficult crowd during her teenage years. On the morning of March 7, 2018, Georgina seemed restless and concerned about her malfunctioning phone. She told her mother about her plans to get it repaired, stop by the job center, and later meet with her father. Before heading out, she borrowed an old phone and some cash from her mother. The last known sighting of Georgina was around 9:30 a.m., captured on CCTV at a local shop, where she appeared to be in good spirits. Her family didn't report her missing until 10 days later, as there were initial misunderstandings about her whereabouts. Once the investigation began, authorities found that her phone was last active early on the day she disappeared, and since then, her bank accounts have remained unused. Although Worthing is well monitored by CCTV, there's limited footage of Georgina's movements that day. In one of the few clips available, she is seen with an unidentified woman carrying shopping bags. As months went by without any leads, Georgina's case was featured on the television program Crime Watch, and a reward of £5,000 was offered for information. Later, the reward amount was doubled to £10,000 in hopes of encouraging tips. One potential lead surfaced. A witness reported seeing Georgina near a Tesco supermarket on the evening of her disappearance, where she seemed to be arguing with two men. Unfortunately, the CCTV footage from that location was found to be corrupted, and no further insights could be gathered. In 2019, police reclassified her case as a homicide investigation, despite the lack of concrete evidence of her death. Alongside this change, unsettling rumors and messages emerged, speculating on Georgina's fate, though none were confirmed. Georgina's family, especially her mother, Andrea, has expressed fears that she may have fallen victim to foul play or even trafficking, a concern heightened by Georgina's trusting nature. Today, Georgina's disappearance remains unresolved. Her family and law enforcement continue to seek answers, determined to find the truth about what happened to her on that fateful day in March 2018. Antonino Coppola, an Italian national living in London, has been missing since earlier this year. He was last seen leaving Bow Road Station in central East London. Until the day before his disappearance, Antonino had been in regular contact with his family. That day was also the last time they heard from him. On the day he went missing, Antonino was travelling with a friend on the London Underground around midday when he started feeling unwell with stomach pain. Deciding to get off early, he exited the train at Bow Road Station. CCTV footage captured him leaving the station, dressed in a white t-shirt, black pants, and distinctive orange Nike shoes. After exiting, he turned right toward Mornington Grove, and from there, he vanished without a trace. The police have been closely reviewing CCTV footage from the area, including recordings from around Thames Magistrates Court, but so far, no new details have been publicly shared. Given his sudden discomfort, there is some speculation that Antonino may have been searching for a restroom, possibly considering a nearby pub or similar establishment. Antonino's family has made a public appeal for any information that might help locate him. They are also urging him to let them know he is safe. The public is encouraged to contact the police on 101 or the Missing People charity if they have any information regarding Antonino's whereabouts. Damien Nettles, a 16-year-old from the Isle of Wight, England, went missing on November 2, 1996. Known for his sense of humour and love of music, Damien had attended a party that evening with his friend Chris Boone and Chris's brother, Davey. After the party, Damien and Chris took a ferry to West Cowes, where they bought some ciders, and Damien brought a camera that had never been found. CCTV footage and police reports tracked Damien's movements until about 11:30 p.m. that night. After trying to enter several pubs, Damien and Chris parted ways around 10:30 p.m., with Damien choosing to head back toward West Cowes High Street rather than going home as expected. Over the next hour and a half, witnesses reported seeing him acting strangely, possibly under the influence. He was seen trying car door handles and interacting with a group of men outside a fish and chip shop who were believed to be British Army personnel. Around midnight, Damien was last seen getting off a bus after a brief ride.
please. One more. One, please. One, two, three. You want to kiss? Yeah.
His family reported him missing the next day, but the initial police response faced criticism for being poorly managed. Some speculated that Damien might have fallen into the River Medina, but searches of the river yielded no evidence. In 2007, private investigator Ivor Edwards took on Damien's case, focusing on potential connections to the local drug scene. 4 years later, in 2011, 8 people were arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to murder in connection with Damien's disappearance. However, they were eventually released without charges. Rumors circulated linking a local drug dealer, Nicky McNamara, to Damien's suspected murder, but Nicky had died in 2003, and the police found these claims to be unreliable. Despite extensive investigation efforts and the involvement of over 1,130 people, Damien's disappearance remains unsolved. His mother, Valerie Nettles, has written a book titled The Boy Who Disappeared and continues to seek answers. She encourages anyone with information to come forward by contacting Hampshire Police, reaching out to her directly via email, or submitting tips anonymously through Crime Stoppers. Damien's family holds on to hope, determined to uncover the truth about what happened to him that night. On December 20, 2018, Michael Stewart was seen running into his friend, Angelo Nazemi, at a local barbershop. Security footage captured Michael greeting Angelo, and later, the two were seen leaving together. Some reports even mentioned sightings of the pair at a bar later that evening, but this would be the last confirmed sighting of Michael. Michael was reported missing after failing to attend a planned visit with his 4-year-old daughter, a commitment he had never missed before. As police began their investigation, they voiced suspicions that Michael's disappearance was likely a murder, despite the lack of a body. Angelo Nazemi soon became the primary suspect. Not long after Michael went missing, Angelo was arrested on separate charges of assaulting his girlfriend. During the investigation, Angelo's girlfriend claimed he had confessed to killing a man and forced her to help dispose of the body in Perth Amboy, New Jersey. Based on this information, police officially charged Angelo with Michael's murder, although Angelo's lawyer argued that the accusations were baseless. As the case unfolded, disturbing pieces of evidence surfaced. For instance, the landlord of the apartment where Angelo had been living completely tore up the space, removing the sink and even ripping out sections of the floor, just 1 day after Michael's disappearance. Police suspected this was an attempt to cover up evidence, especially after discovering that Angelo had supplied the landlord with drugs. Security footage further intensified these suspicions, showing Angelo and his girlfriend discarding something in a dumpster in New Jersey, which police believed might have been Michael's body. Initially, Angelo refused a plea deal, but as jury selection for the trial began, he changed his mind and agreed to a plea deal of 13 years in prison for manslaughter. He confessed to Michael Stewart's killing, yet the location of Michael's body remained unknown. Police conducted a thorough search of a landfill in neighboring Pennsylvania, where they believed his remains might have ended up, but they found no trace of him. The leading theory is that Michael's body may have been picked up by Waste Management and incinerated, making recovery impossible. To this day, what exactly transpired between Michael and Angelo on the December night remains unclear, but Michael's family is left without closure as they still don't know where his body is. The tragic event, coming just days before Christmas, has left an unhealed wound for his loved ones. Alex Bradley, a 25-year-old from Nottinghamshire, England, disappeared under mysterious circumstances following a house fire on May 28, 2022. Emergency services were called to her home around 7 p.m., but upon arrival, they confirmed that Alex had already left the property before notifying any family members. Earlier in the day, she had been with her parents in Nottinghamshire, who reported her missing when she didn't return as expected. The cause of the fire at her residence remains unknown, adding further mystery to her sudden disappearance. Shortly after the incident, Alex was spotted on CCTV, walking along Collingham Road in Burstwick, West Yorkshire, and heading towards the services near the junction of the A6 and A46. Detective Inspector Mark Brennan voiced concerns that Alex might have been injured during the fire and emphasized the family's deep worry for her safety. Despite extensive searches in the local area and numerous public appeals for information, there have been no further leads, and Alex's whereabouts remain unknown. Alex is described as very thin, standing about 5 feet 2 inches tall, with bleached blonde hair showing a few inches of natural color at the roots due to regrowth. At the time she was last seen, she wore her hair in a bun, black jeans, and a Parker-style jacket with a hood. She was also carrying a black bag. Anyone with information on Alex's whereabouts is urged to contact the police, as her family and authorities continue to search for answers. Goffredo Bondanelli, a 56-year-old German national and passionate hill walker, has been missing since May 2016. Goffredo was last seen on May 3, 2016, when he boarded a train in Fort William, Scotland, headed for Legg. He had planned a challenging 5-day, 47-mile trek, expecting to return on May 8. However, when he failed to come back, concerns grew, and he has been unaccounted for ever since. Goffredo was known to be well prepared for outdoor adventures, carrying a green tent and a dark rucksack. He stands around 5 feet 10 inches tall with an athletic build, darkened grey hair, and may have had stubble or a light white beard at the time. CCTV footage captured him on the train, dressed in dark outdoor clothing, ready for the journey ahead. Following his disappearance, extensive search efforts were launched by the police, RAF Mountain Rescue, and the Coast Guard along his intended route. Despite these thorough searches, no trace of Goffredo was found. Authorities continue to appeal to the public, urging anyone who was in the area around that time or who may have seen someone matching Goffredo's description to come forward with information. Although months of investigation and search efforts followed, no new leads or sightings have surfaced, and Goffredo's whereabouts remain a mystery. His family and the authorities are still hoping for answers, as his case remains open. Brian Macwan, a 42-year-old man from Plean, central Scotland, has been missing since September 21, 2017. He was last seen in the Gillespie Terrace area, and possibly in the Gamere Drive area, in the early hours of September 22. Brian is described as 5 feet 10 inches tall and slim, with short brown hair, blue eyes, and tattoos on his fingers. At the time of his disappearance, he was wearing light grey tracksuit pants with black stripes, a black Nike baseball cap, black and grey trainers, and a black G-Star jacket. CCTV footage captured Brian walking near the Clansman pub on Main Street, where two other individuals, a man and a woman walking their dogs, along with another man outside the pub, were also seen. The police are looking to identify and speak with these people, hoping they might have seen Brian that night or have useful information about his whereabouts. Brian's fiancée, Janet Wales, has faced online accusations suggesting she might know more about his disappearance or could even be involved, which she has publicly denied. Janet shared that the couple had argued about Brian's use of Valium, which she disapproved of, especially given his history of violent behavior when using the drug. Brian had a difficult past, having served a life sentence for the murder of Andrew Robertson and was released on license in January 2017. On the night he went missing, Janet and Brian argued about his Valium use. Later that evening, Janet called the police, and shortly after, they went out to get takeout food. During the outing, Brian was reportedly behaving erratically. Janet eventually left him, expecting he would return home later, but he never did. She reported him missing the following day. Since then, a Facebook page accusing Janet of involvement in his disappearance has been created. Police have advised her to ignore these allegations, as there is no evidence supporting them. Janet has voiced her concern that Brian may have met with foul play, particularly noting his uncollected medication as a troubling sign. Authorities are encouraging anyone with information about Brian's disappearance to contact Crime Stoppers. Stuart Clark, a 61-year-old man from Dalibor, Glasgow, has been missing since January 17, 2016. He was last seen leaving a friend's house on Park Road, and CCTV footage captured him travelling on a train between Cardross and Dalibor around 11:45 a.m. The following day, January 18, there was a possible sighting of Stewart at Mac's bar. The police are actively seeking information from anyone who was at the bar during that time. Stewart had previously gone missing on occasion, but he always maintained contact with his family. This sudden disappearance, marked by complete silence, has deeply concerned his loved ones. Despite the release of CCTV footage and ongoing efforts from the police, no substantial leads have emerged. In January 2018, Stewart's brother, Ian, shared plans to sell Stewart's flat while preserving some of his belongings, still hopeful of his brother's return. Ian noted that Stewart hadn't accessed his bank account in over 5 years and was likely without the medication he needed. Ian last spoke with Stewart just 10 minutes before he disappeared, after which Stewart failed to meet another friend for a planned lunch. The last confirmed sighting of Stewart was when he entered a building on Burn Street around 12:30 p.m. on the day he went missing. Stewart is described as 6 feet 2 inches tall, with red hair, a red beard, and a medium build. He wears glasses and has a distinctive stilted walk. At the time of his disappearance, he was wearing a dark waterproof jacket and carrying a black and grey rucksack. Anyone with information about Stuart Clark's disappearance is urged to contact the Missing People charity in the UK, as his family continues to search for answers and holds on to hope for his safe return. Dalibor Dale Pantic, a 34-year-old man known by his nickname Caliber, was last seen by a friend on the night of April 10, 2019, at a farm in Perry Bridge, Victoria, Australia. His sudden disappearance raised concerns, and the following day, police stated that they would be searching the bushland off Forest Road, hoping to locate either Dale or his vehicle. However, since being reported missing, Dale has not made any contact with friends or family. His social media accounts have been inactive, and there has been no activity on his bank accounts. When the initial search efforts yielded no trace of him or his vehicle, police issued multiple public appeals, hoping to gain information from witnesses. His disappearance was considered highly unusual, and investigators were certain that someone in the community knew what had happened to him or who was involved. Authorities believe he may have been heading to Melbourne to see his 2 older daughters, but never arrived and has not been heard from since. Days after he went missing, CCTV footage revealed Dale's car, a 2005 silver Ford Falcon, leaving an address in Sale 2 nights later. However, police were able to confirm that Dale was not the one driving the car, prompting a drone search in the Labatash area to follow this lead. Despite the sighting, no further information emerged at the time, leaving his loved ones in limbo. Over a year later, in May 2020, Dale's car was found during a bushland search in Bunyip State Forest, over 90 miles from where he was last seen. The vehicle was sent for forensic testing in hopes of uncovering any evidence that could explain his disappearance. During the investigation, police revealed that Dale was actively involved in a small, close-knit community dealing with illegal substances, particularly in sourcing and distribution. This revelation led them to believe there was only a slim chance he might still be alive. Adding to these concerns, Dale's phone was later found with some of his associates in Warwick, near Sale. In addition to the discovery of his car, there were several reported sightings of it across Melbourne after Dale was last seen. The first was at a gas station on the Princes Freeway around 12:30 a.m. on April 12, followed by another sighting on East Link near the Springvale Road Ringwood bypass around noon the same day. A third sighting placed the car near the High Street Road and Ferntree Gully Road exit not long after. Each sighting added to the mystery of who might have been driving Dale's car and what might have happened to him. Dale is described as 5 feet 8 inches tall, with a solid build, brown hair and brown eyes. Police are urging anyone with information on his whereabouts or with details about his car's movements to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-333-000. His family and friends continue to search for answers, hoping for any lead that might explain his unexplained disappearance. On the evening of Wednesday, July 29, 2015, Stephen McCary went out with his brother and friends to Lucky's Tavern, a popular bar in downtown Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Stephen's brother left around 11 p.m., advising Stephen, who was visibly intoxicated, to go home safely. However, Stephen decided to stay a bit longer, and at around 1:30 a.m., he and his friends left the bar with plans to meet up at a nearby Walgreens parking lot to decide on their next move. But Stephen never showed up at Walgreens, and his friends never saw him again. Stephen, who was 25 at the time, lived with his parents and worked as a professional poker dealer at a casino in Hallandale Beach, near Fort Lauderdale. When he didn't come home the next day or show up for work, his family quickly sensed something was wrong. Authorities initially reported that several surveillance cameras were positioned around the area where Stephen was last seen, but gathering and reviewing the footage could take weeks. In the meantime, investigators interviewed friends and family who last saw him. Fearing that he might have had an accident due to his intoxicated state, police searched several lakes and ponds nearby. The investigation became even more challenging when they discovered that Stephen's phone battery had died while he was still at the bar, making it impossible to track him through his phone. At the time of his disappearance, Stephen was a father to a 1-year-old daughter and had a long-term girlfriend with whom he had future plans, including marriage. His loved ones insisted he wouldn't simply walk away from his life without a word. Disturbingly, evidence later uncovered suggested that his disappearance might not have been voluntary. 2 weeks into the investigation, police found that Stephen had used his credit card at a gas station in Pompano Beach about an hour after leaving the bar, which was puzzling since it required a 15-mile detour. Surveillance footage showed Stephen entering the store at 2:26 a.m., clearly intoxicated, as he stumbled while shopping for snacks. He seemed to be at ease, even chatting briefly with 2 young women in the store, although this interaction occurred outside the camera's view. About a week later, additional CCTV footage from the gas station emerged, shifting the direction of the investigation. This footage captured Stephen standing next to his 2013 white Ford Fusion in the parking lot, seemingly engaged in a tense exchange with the driver of an unidentified silver sedan. As the sedan pulled away, Stephen threw his drink at the car and gestured in frustration. Moments later, the silver sedan circled back, pulling up behind Stephen's car. Stephen then got into his car and drove off, but the silver sedan immediately followed him, speeding after his vehicle. This was the last time anyone saw Stephen. The police identified the driver of the silver sedan as an African-American man who had briefly entered the gas station shirtless just before the altercation, but his identity remains unknown. For the past 8 years, Fort Lauderdale police have been searching for any trace of Stephen's car, but his license plate was never picked up by local scanners, suggesting he never left the area. Authorities have conducted extensive searches, combing over 20 bodies of water in the Fort Lauderdale area, yet no trace of Stephen or his car has been found. Strangely, these searches did uncover nearly 20 other vehicles, some with bullet holes or reported as stolen, but none related to Stephen's case. As of 2023, detectives and investigators are still left wondering if Stephen was involved in a tragic accident that night or if he fell victim to something more sinister. His family continues to hope for answers, and the mystery of his disappearance endures. When Cathrine Ackling Bryan didn't show up to pick her 2 daughters from school, her husband, Michael, immediately grew worried. Within just half an hour, she was reported missing. Michael soon uncovered that Cathrine had been acting oddly all day. That morning, Cathrine took her daughters to school in an unusual state. Her younger daughter was still in her pajamas, a first for the family, stemming from an accident the child had the previous day due to illness. Initially, Cathrine planned to keep her daughter home, but she changed her mind at the last minute. After dropping off the children, Cathrine briefly returned home at 10:30 a.m. She later dropped off some items at the school before taking a bus to a shopping center. CCTV footage from St. Mary Village Center showed her visiting a Target store where she bought clothes for her daughters. At 12:17 p.m., she was seen leaving the shopping center. What happened after Cathrine left the mall remains a mystery. While no further footage of her was found, it is believed she returned home as the new clothes were discovered there and she had prepared a meal in a slow cooker. However, by 3:30 p.m., Cathrine had vanished without a trace. When the school called Michael, he initially thought she might have overslept during a nap. But upon checking the house, he found it empty, with her phone and purse left behind, but her house keys missing. The police launched an immediate investigation into her disappearance. Over the following year, multiple appeals for information were made by officials and Cathrine's family. Despite these efforts, no additional CCTV footage surfaced, and no witnesses came forward. Authorities do not suspect foul play in Cathrine's disappearance. She had a history of mental health issues and was under significant stress at the time, particularly due to her daughter's recent illness, which had visibly upset her. During the walk to school, her children noticed she had tears in her eyes. Cathrine's family believes she is no longer alive, yet her body has never been found. As a result, her disappearance remains unresolved. The case of 25-year-old Taran Olsen Carlile is particularly puzzling due to his habit of going off the grid. Despite his tendency to be unreachable, Taran would always send occasional text messages from third-party phones to wish his loved ones happy birthdays and holidays. However, on March 2, 2017, he was reported missing to the Las Vegas police, and since then, no one has heard from him. Additionally, there has been no activity on his bank account. However, on the day Taran disappeared, police obtained surveillance footage from a business on the 3900 block of South Buffalo Drive near Flamingo Road. The video shows two men arriving in a black SUV. They casually exit the vehicle, and one of the men retrieves a bag from the back of the car. He walks through the parking lot towards a large metal dumpster and disposes of the bag. What seemed like a routine action took a sinister turn when police retrieved the bag and found clothing inside stained with Taran Olsen Carlile's blood, along with a pair of rubber gloves. Investigators are keen to identify and interview the men in the video, as they likely possess crucial information about Taran's fate. Unfortunately, these individuals have never come forward. Initially, detectives were reluctant to release the surveillance footage, considering the possibility that Taran simply did not want to communicate with his family. However, as more time passed without any word from him, their concerns grew. Metro Lieutenant Dan McGrath stated, "Nobody's heard from him at all, which is very unusual." Taran's prolonged silence, combined with the disturbing evidence from the video, led investigators to transfer the case to the LVMPD homicide section. It's a sobering reminder that even in our digital age, where surveillance cameras are ubiquitous and GPS technology is embedded in many of our everyday devices, someone can still vanish without a trace. The search for Taran Olsen Carlile continues, and anyone with information is urged to come forward to help solve this baffling case. Janina Vasquez's life was marked by challenges, and her untimely death remained shrouded in mystery. The 27-year-old, from Overland Park, Missouri, suffered from a seizure disorder and chronic pain due to a previous traffic accident. These health issues meant she relied on her parents, with whom she lived, and she could not drive or walk long distances. On February 11, 2015, Janina texted her parents, informing them she was going out for the night with friends Alan and Nicole. This was unusual, as she had few friends, but her mother, Jenny Cochran, was pleased that her daughter seemed to be socializing more. Unfortunately, that text was the last communication Janina's family received from her while she was alive. 8 days later, Janina's body was discovered at the bottom of a 25-foot well in an enclosed section of Richard Barkley Riverfront Park. Her death was ruled an accident by the police, but numerous inconsistencies suggest otherwise. The day after she went missing, Jenny Cochran reported Janina's disappearance to the police. Investigators traced Janina's cell phone to an intersection in downtown Kansas City, Missouri, an area she rarely visited. Surveillance footage captured her leaving the Isle of Capri casino alone at 7:40 p.m. on February 12, getting into a red car, 1.5 miles from the last cell phone ping. This same red vehicle was spotted 3 hours later near the park where her body was found. Given Janina's physical limitations, it seems improbable that she could have navigated the obstacles to reach the well. She would have needed to climb a high fence and lift a heavy door. Her injuries included severe head trauma and broken wrists, which aligned with a heavy fall. Her bra, underwear, socks, and the bag she was last seen carrying were missing. Her phone was found in one boot, and her identification in the other. Adding to the mystery, police disclosed months later that Janina had made a 911 call on February 12. The call was poor in quality, making it impossible to understand her words, but it was traced to a local park. Despite searching the area, police found nothing at the time. The official ruling of an accidental death raises more questions than it answers. The narrative asks us to believe that Janina, driven to the park by an unknown individual, scaled a high fence, opened a heavy door, removed most of her clothing in freezing temperatures, and then accidentally fell into a 25-foot well. Furthermore, the 911 call suggests she was in distress, potentially witnessing or experiencing a crime. It is highly unlikely that she accidentally dialed 911 and then met her death by coincidence. Janina's family continues to seek answers, struggling to understand the circumstances that led to her tragic end. Ellen Bryan Jr. was last seen on November 3, 2013. At the time of his disappearance, Ellen was 23 years old. The last sighting of him was at 2:02 a.m., leaving 6 nightclub to make his way home. Earlier that evening, Ellen had been with his friends at a party at the nearby Leslie Golf Club, just a short walk from his home. After the party, Ellen briefly went home before heading out again to 6 nightclub. However, the final known CCTV footage of Ellen captures him at 2:02 a.m., leaving 6 nightclub. When he departed, he was heading in the direction of his home, which was only a 10-minute walk away. Unfortunately, he never made it home. While the police obtained CCTV footage from 6 nightclub, other businesses in the area, including a gym, also had surveillance cameras. However, by the time the police requested the footage, it had already been deleted. Ellen's parents, Helen Sr. and Marie, have never given up hope of finding out what happened to their son. Nearly 9 years later, there are still no answers, and nothing has been found to provide any clues about his disappearance. There is a £20,000 reward for any information that could shed light on what exactly happened to Ellen. In January 2022, 24-year-old Alicia Apostle of Boyerin was living with her great-grandfather in Greater Manchester, England. However, on February 2nd, she mysteriously vanished, leaving her family in distress and authorities fearing the worst. Police now believe that Alicia may have met with harm, possibly at the hands of an older man familiar with her family. However, Alicia's disappearance is shrouded in suspicion. Investigators suspect that she had been communicating with an older man through social media. It is believed that this man arranged to meet her in Ashton. The investigation led to the arrest of 2 men. The first, a 59-year-old from County Durham, was released on bail. The second, a 50-year-old from Ashton-under-Lyne, was also released as the investigation continues. Police released CCTV footage from January 17th, showing Alicia at an Asda supermarket with a man wearing a surgical face mask. The footage shows them leaving the store together after using Alicia's car to pay. Her bank account has not been accessed since this sighting. Additionally, another CCTV image captured Alicia in the passenger seat of a gold-colored Volkswagen Passat at a gas station. The man with her filled the car with fuel before they drove off. The last known sighting of Alicia was on January 22nd in Derbyshire. The police have urged the community to check their CCTV and dashcam footage in hopes of finding further clues about Alicia's whereabouts. They believe that additional sightings may help piece together what happened to her. At the time of her disappearance, Alicia was reportedly wearing a long jacket with a hood. Authorities are appealing to anyone with information about Alicia, the man she was last seen with, or any details about her disappearance to contact the police. The hope is that even a small piece of information could lead to a breakthrough in this troubling case. The search for Alicia Apostle of Boyerin continues, with her family and friends desperately seeking answers. The community's vigilance and assistance are crucial in uncovering the truth behind her mysterious disappearance.